Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another edition of the All We Do Is Talk podcast. Here with the Week 13 predictions. I can't believe it's already Week 13 and December football. I'm here with Moody and Isaiah. How are we doing today, guys?
Good. What's up?
It's football weather, Eric. That's the time of the year we're in. This is the time for the physical cold weather football to be at its brightest, and I can't wait to see it.
Yep.
Absolutely. All right, so let's start in Detroit. Cover Gods getting more than a touchdown. Minnesota coming to Detroit -7.5 over under 46.5.
I honestly don't know what to do with Detroit.
They're bad. That's all I know.
But they're going to be in the game somehow, some way.
Jordan
But
versus Kirk Cousins. It's everything that you
I'm
want.
going to hope that the lack of DeAndre Swift will take away the last weapon that the Detroit Lions even have, and that will allow the Minnesota Vikings to actually win this football game comfortably, because it's just about how much Minnesota wins by. It's not about whether Minnesota is going to win or not. I'm going to take Minnesota cover the 7.5. Is because even though Dalvin Cook's out, I think Alexander Madison will still have no problem running all over them. And when they have to load up the box and bring some one-on-ones, Justin Jefferson, who's been on fire, and Adam Thielen will make enough plays to get them a more than a touchdown victory. And I'll take the under.
I mean, Panay Sewell has been sick this week, so he's questionable. But other than that, DeAndre Swift is out. We know that. That's the biggest loss for Detroit, but I still got to rock with him. I'm going to take Minnesota to win, but I'm only going to take Minnesota to win by 7. Definitely 7.5. I think we don't know how Detroit stays in these games, but they'll coach good enough to stay in the games, and then they'll coach bad enough to do whatever it takes
to lose the
to
game.
blow the game.
It's exactly how you want it. That's how you tank. That's how you tank.
And I'll take the under. Because I took Minnesota 24, Detroit 17. I think Minnesota will handle them, but Detroit will tackle on some nice garbage time. Get that backdoor cover going.
Yeah, absolutely, Isaiah. I'm with the cover Gods as well. Scared without DeAndre Swift because their one explosive weapon is out. But if it was inside a touchdown, I think I would have taken Minnesota. But since it's outside that touchdown number, I'll take Detroit. I'll take the under. Points will be at a premium. And the cover Gods have been doing well for me, so I got to keep riding with them.
Yeah,
the kneecap
got to keep riding.
And if Moody's taking Minnesota, you got to take Detroit.
You got to take Detroit.
All right, so let's move to Chi-Town, where Arizona is coming to visit. Kyler Murray playing, yes or no?
Kyler and Hopkins are expected to play. No Justin Fields for Chicago. It will be Andy Dalton once again. We know the injuries that the Bears are dealing with on defense. Khalil Mack obviously out for the season. I think Eddie Jackson's dealing with some injuries.
Linebackers are nicked up.
Yeah, they've been pretty. The defense that has been decent throughout the year, I wouldn't say good, but decent, has completely fallen by the wayside when it comes to injuries. But they do have one advantage, and that is they're in the Windy City in December. And it is really, really hard to play there. The grass is going to be shitty. I wouldn't play Hopkins coming off a hamstring injury in a cold weather game in December. That just sounds like re-aggravating an injury to me, but that's what they're going to go with because it's time to start getting wins. I think Arizona's still the better football team here because Kyler Murray is back, and I think him by himself is enough to cover the 7.5 point spread. He's a really, really good player. Obviously, he was the MVP front runner before the injury showed up. With this rest, I expect him to be 100%. I expect him to use his legs to create plays, and I don't think Chicago will be able to handle that. So I'll take Arizona to cover the 7.5, and I'll take the under.
Yeah, the exact reason I took Detroit because they've shown a propensity to cover is the reason I'm going to take Arizona in this game with the 7.5 because Chicago showed you a propensity to not cover so often. And Andy Dalton versus Kyler Murray, I think Arizona has enough on offense to run the ball and control the trenches, while I think Chicago will be playing catch up all day. Now, I do believe they'll score some points because Arizona, their offense might not be hitting on all cylinders, and it's known to stall out every now and again. And their defense is good, but it's not elite in my opinion. And so I took Arizona 28-20. I think they'll handle them. Maybe Detroit, like I said for the last game, tax on a garbage time touchdown. But I still think Arizona will cover, and I will take the over.
Yeah, I'm going to take Arizona in the under on this one. I think Kyler and DeAndre Hopkins coming back. They'll want to send a message to the rest of the NFL on why they're the best record in the NFL. Kyler will want to put back on his MVP case, even though I think it's gone because he missed too many games. But Arizona handled his injury right. I mean, they were cautious because they know later in the season, the more likely Kyler's going to get hurt. So they were very cautious. And that I think the Cleveland should have taken notes out of how Arizona handled their quarterback injury.
Exactly.
And Cleveland has the better backup quarterback, which is crazy, so that they didn't handle it.
They're about the same. Case Keenum, Colt McCoy,
and only because Colt McCoy the last couple of years has like rejuvenated his backup career. But Colt McCoy, I mean, Case Keenum, in my opinion,
if Colt McCoy started for the Minnesota Vikings that year, they probably would have been in the same position.
I'm not. No,
I don't really think it's that much.
Not that Colt McCoy. Maybe prime Colt McCoy, but I think Case Keenum is the best backup. That's why it's so shocking what Cleveland has done, in my opinion, because they paid for it.
They bungled it.
All right, so let's.
But also got to remember that they weren't 9-1. So
yeah,
they weren't 9-1. They were fighting the NFC.
So Arizona in the under. So let's move on to the ATL, where Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks are coming to town. Tampa Bay is minus 10.5 point favorites, over under 50.5.
I spent all week thinking I was going to take Atlanta, just because of how big the line was and how untrustworthy Tampa Bay has been against the spread. Then I saw the Friday injury report, and Tampa Bay's 90% healthy. Carlson Davis got activated off of IR. Sean Murphy, Bunting, and Jamel
suspended.
AB did get suspended. They haven't had AB in 2 months anyway, but AB is suspended, and that is a big problem.
They said he was going to be out 2 months anyway. That's the crazy.
Yeah, he was like, it's just the injury suspension. Like, oh, he was going to miss these games. This is suspension you got to serve. Tom Brady got the job done. Y'all know how it is. But anyway, back to Tampa Bay. For the first time in a long time, their defense is basically healthy. I think they're only missing Jordan Whitehead at the safety position, but every other position that was supposed to start the season at the spot is supposed to be out there and healthy. I think that's huge for Tampa Bay. They look like they're finally finding their rhythm on the offensive end. Without Antonio Brown, Gronk being back is huge. And now defensively, they're fully loaded. Going up against the Atlanta team that's been struggling to move the ball over the last few weeks, haven't been able to score points, and Tampa Bay's fully healthy on defense. I think Tampa Bay makes a statement here and manhandles the Atlanta Falcons. I'll take them to cover the 10.5, and I'll take the under.
Yeah, Atlanta fought the last time they played before the pick sixes, but I think the difference in this game is Calvin Ridley's not playing.
Exactly.
So ever since he has left to handle his personal off the field problems, Atlanta offense has not been the same. Now people are funneling coverage to Kyle Pitts because he's like the only good weapon. Cordell Patterson has been hit or miss, and he's been hurt. I expect him to keep scoring touchdowns because that's what he does for Atlanta. But I also struggled picking Tampa Bay, but then I realized that it's not that hard. I took Tampa Bay 35-21 going away. Maybe Atlanta stays in the game because Matt Ryan, he's got his rivalry with Tom Brady. He's going to want to show up a little bit to not get just ran over by Tom Brady again. But in the end, I think Tampa Bay is just a better team. And if they could out-better the Colts last week, who are more physical in the trenches, they're going to out-better the Atlanta Falcons, who are not the Colts in the trenches. So I expect a big game from that defensive line for Tampa Bay, and I expect another big game from playoff Lenny. So that's what I took Tampa Bay, and I took the over.
Y'all thought about taking ATL? I've been on Tampa Bay this whole week. I mean, I think in division, I think Tampa Bay handles their business, especially on this back end of the schedule where they have the Panthers twice in the last 3 weeks. They're going to be fired up for these division games, seal the division, and try to get a bye. So I have Tampa Bay here in a rout and the over. So let's go down to Houston, where the petty Houston Texans are 10-point underdogs against Jonathan Taylor and the Indianapolis Colts, over under 44.5.
This feels like a nice bounce back game for the Colts after choking yet another league against another good football team. Is what they do on a regular basis. But somehow for Indianapolis, every time they choke a lead against a good team, the next week they're playing one of the bottom 3 teams in the NFL.
Well, two of them playing in
But every time on the schedule, like, ooh, Tennessee, Jacksonville. Ooh, we lost to Baltimore, the Jets.
Quarter of their season.
The Jets is one of those teams too.
But a quarter of their season is going to be automatically the Texans and the
bottom 3
Jags.
football teams. And in the first 3 occasions, they both raced the bottom 3 football team with their dominant run game and a couple of explosive plays in the passing game in their defense. I don't expect that to change here today. We've seen this matchup before. Houston with that too high safety look ankle be stopping Jonathan Taylor. And if they have to come down, it'll allow T.Y., Zach Pascal, those guys to get over the top one good time. And the Colts will handle this game pretty comfortably. I'll take the Colts -10 in the over.
Yeah. Unlike last week, Houston's got a team that's playing a team that's better than them. So for the most part, you're not picking Houston to be competitive in most games because for the most part, they won't be. So, yeah, I agree. Indianapolis 28, Houston 17. I just think Indianapolis is better at Houston with the Laramie Tunsil injury at every single position. So, I expect them to win 75% of the matchups. Maybe David Culley and Tyrod Taylor, quarterback, head coach, they scheme up some things to keep them in the game, but I doubt it. Take the cover, take the over, and I also will say Jonathan Taylor has won 2 straight Players of the Month. So if he has a big game, I could see him making a big MVP play.
It's just the Colts got to make the playoff for him to get that opportunity.
I picked them to play. So this still be above 500 again. So like you said, every time they lose, they get something to fall back on.
Yeah, I'm taking Indianapolis. I think that's one of the easier ones to pick. But I'm going to go under. I think the Texans won't score enough to get the total of this low under total. So, Indianapolis and the under. All right, let's move on to Philly at New York Jets. The Jets are a touchdown underdog over under 45.5.
This will be my lock of the week.
That's 2 weeks in a row picking on the Jets.
This will be my lock of the week.
2 of the 3 weeks picking on the Jets.
Philadelphia. Did y'all know that the Jets have never beaten the Philadelphia Eagles in their entire franchise history?
But they are perfect.
11-0-0 against the New York Jets in the Metro rivalry. I don't expect that to really change here. Philadelphia. Jalen Hurts was trash last week. Let's just be very clear about that.
Luckily, Lamar was worse.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts has had struggles in playing in cold New York weather. But I expect their run game to just be dominant here. The Jets' front seven has been really beat up, and now that we're getting later in the year, they're just getting worn down. They showed you some good fight and some good energy early, but once the losses start piling up and stuff like that, it's just hard to keep up that competitiveness. Philly needs a bounce back win. I think Philly's just a better football team overall, so I'll take Philly to cover the -7 and the under.
I'm going the other way. It was tough. I expect Philly to win this game because I think they're just a better team. But after what I saw from Jalen Hurts last week in the Meadowlands, I can't pick. He might have a bounce back running game, but I just can't. Yeah, weather's probably going to be even worse than it was last week. I just can't confidently say that that's the type of offense that if it does even run the ball really well like it did last week. And I think the Jets have a decent run defense. So I expect the key matchup to be Quentin Williams in the middle with his brother versus Landon Dickerson and Jason Kelsey. Mm-hmm. So that'll really determine how dominant Philly can be in this game. But I'm going to take the Jets to cover. I took Philadelphia 24, Jets 18, and the under. I expect the same thing that we saw last week, maybe a little bit more scoring because the Jets are not as good of a defense as the Giants and not as good of an offense. So Philly's defense might score on them.
Yeah, I'm going Philly here. This would have been my lock if Moody didn't take it before me. I'll take the under. I just think Philly has something to play for, and the Jets don't. I think it's simple as that. Philly's trying to make a late season push, and I think they're going to get it done. And the under. Let's move on to the Chargers coming to Cincinnati. Cincinnati's -3 over under 49. I'll start this one. I am now officially, since the Panthers are not going to make the playoffs, I am becoming a Cincinnati Bengals fan for the season. So this will be my lock of the week. Cincinnati -3 against the Chargers.
Damn, you stole my lock.
There's been a lot of that going on recently.
It's been locked up out here. Lock your locks up.
Yeah. So I will take the Cincinnati Bengals -3 over the Chargers as my lock. I just think they're clicking on all cylinders. I love their offense. Their defense does enough to get the job done. And I mean, I was a big Joe Burrow fan before. Cincinnati to beat the Chargers, and I'll take the over as well.
Yeah, I agree, Eric. I think all signs point to Cincinnati getting the job done here. Sante Samuel, I don't think is going to play with concussion protocol. The Chargers have the league worst run defense, and they got to go up against Joe Mixon, who has been slicing and dicing run defenses.
Good run defenses.
For a good stretch now. They've had a hard time. It's mostly been because teams have to play back because of those receivers and T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd and Jamar Chase. And without Asante Samuel, Brandon Staley will have to be even more conservative with his safeties being back. You can't risk letting Jamar Chase just get behind you all day, or you'll get blown out. They'll have to let Joe Mixon eat him up short and hope they can just stop him in the red zone. I think Justin Herbert is good enough to keep them in the game, but I don't think he's good enough for them to win the game. I'll take Cincinnati to cover and the over.
Yeah, since we all consensusly agree we're going to get a Cincinnati cover and an LAC competitive fight. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's just so many storylines to talk about in this game. You know, the top two quarterbacks, in my opinion, from their draft class. That's how I had them ranked. That's how it's proven out to be. Joe Burrow, a guy who's a better mental player, really poised. And Justin Herbert, a guy who's playing with like just raw athletic ability. So that's a good comparison right there. You know, to start the budding rivalry because they play in the AFC, so they're probably going to be playing a lot if they're going good teams. And then other than that, two young coaches that are trying to make their name. Mm-hmm. And you said it best. LAC's defense is not good, so I don't expect them to stop the Bengals, who play up to competition, is what we've seen, except with the exception of Cleveland, which turns out they're not that good. So yeah, they play down to the bad teams. And lastly, I just think Brandon Staley should be lucky he's in LAC with not a vibrant fan base, because if he was, people would start looking at why their defense has been so pitiful for a defensive coach. So So lucky for him if they do lose this. I think that his hot seat won't be turning hot, but I think we should start questioning what they're doing in that coaching staff, especially if they lay a clunker. But I expect Cincinnati to win 35-31. I think this will probably be the best game. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately for LAC, they're the West Coast team heading east for the 1 o'clock game. And that's the final nail in the coffin.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's going to be probably the game of the week, but definitely up there. All right, Isaiah.
Game of the year potential for sure.
All right, let's go to your game. The Giants going down to Miami. Miami's -6.5.
Because Daniel Jones will not be playing. Mike Glennon will be starting at quarterback for the New York Giants, unfortunately. Jake Fromm will be the quarterback too. I would actually prefer to see Jake Fromm. I think he's younger. I think he can run around a bit and do some.
He can show you something. Mike Glennon not showing you anything.
You know, before the Daniel Jones injury, I bring up that these are practically the same teams. The Bill Belichick tree. Defensive coordinators are both also from the Bill Belichick tree, Patrick Graham. So they've all worked together. Two quarterbacks that were taken highly, maybe in my opinion, both were overdrafted and both haven't shown superstar potential for where they've been drafted. And defensively, both teams are built to win through the defense via the secondary. These are the same teams, in my opinion. And I would think you could throw Carolina in there too, as those three teams are built so similarly. It's kind of crazy. But I got to rock with the Giants. I think this will be an ugly game because all of the Giants games, for the most part, are
Thank God this is in Florida. This would be a disaster in New York,
man. It scares me that Miami is at home and we're playing with a backup quarterback. So it was tough to take the Giants in a 17-13 slugfest. But I think our defensive coaching is better. I don't know if our personnel is by far and away better, which we'll find out. We've seen both of the corners from Miami have been nicked, but Adoree Jackson is doubtful. I think that will hurt because, he would have been a good matchup for Jalen Waddle, and he's been playing as our best corner. I think it's going to be a hard game to watch. I'm not very confident in picking the Giants here, but I think it's going to be a toss-up, and maybe Tua wins it because he's the better quarterback playing, but I took Giants 17-13 under. Mainly, I just wanted to take the Giants to cover, but I could see Miami winning this game.
Yeah, like you said, both basically the same built teams with the same philosophies. They want to win the same type of style. But I think Miami, who's rolling right now, they have to go and handle the Giants here. Like, not just win the game. They can't win ugly like they did against Houston. They need to go out here and show a legitimate improvement, because Flores is not out of the hot seat yet. in Miami, I don't think. Tua's been playing really good football. I think Miami's getting Devontae Parker back from IR this week as well. That's going to be a big guy. So James Bradbury has to follow him. That'll allow Jalen Waddle to open up and make his plays underneath, especially with Adoree Jackson, who will probably be his matchup out of the game. Neither of these teams run the football well or stop the run that well. So I don't expect the run game to be too involved here. But at the end of the day, it's hard for me to pick Mike Glennon to cover against a Miami defense that's going to be turnover happy. I think a defensive touchdown here probably makes the difference for the Miami Dolphins. So I'll take them to cover and the under.
Yeah, I just picked us to get the defense.
Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm with Isaiah on the Giants. I can't give 6.5 to either of these quarterbacks. So I'm gonna take the Giants. Close your eyes, pinch your nose. Don't watch.
I will be watching, unfortunately.
The NFL don't want to hear you telling people don't watch. DirecTV don't want to hear you telling people that.
So I am going to go New York Giants 39.5. I'll take the under.
Eric, this game ain't get out the teens.
It's gonna be a bad game. Yeah. I expect a bad game.
All right, so let's go to Las Vegas, where the Washington football team is coming to town. Vegas is -1.5, over under 49.5.
Unfortunately, I think that Vegas, the only team that won't be able to beat the Vegas Raiders is the Dallas Cowboys in the NFCs, because I expect Washington football team to go up against a really bad offensive line and handle them. Washington's playing really good football right now. They just won a game on the primetime stage. I think they're confident. I think they're
4-game win streak.
I think that they're running the football really, really well. I expect Derek Carr to be able to make some plays against that defense if he could get protected well enough up front, because Jonathan Allen has really, really picked this game up in the second half of the year, and it has opened up the pass rush lanes for the Washington football team defense. But that secondary is still questionable. Deshaun Jackson can still get behind people, and he's going to play this week. No Darren Waller is probably going to keep it from getting over the hump. So I'll take Washington football team to win here and keep their streak alive, +1.5, and I'll take the under.
I mean, everybody beat me. Everybody else's lock of the week was, in my opinion, an option to be the lock of the week. So I got to settle here and make this my lock of the week. Moody talked about how Washington's defensive front will eat up on Oakland's offensive front. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with the other side of the ball. Washington has one of the nastiest front fives on the offensive line.
Eric Flowers is questionable. Not 100% certain he'll play, but
they've made him be a good player for them on 2 different stints, which is crazy. But I think Washington will maul that pass rushing smaller front. Luckily, if you could double team Max Crosby, you can move Ngakoue in the run game. So I think that's where the biggest problems for Oakland is. And we know Oakland's not good up the middle. Vegas, yeah. The Raiders are not good up the middle. So teams are ran on them, and I expect Washington to run on them very good, like we saw last week against Seattle. And so I still think Vegas will do some things because their offensive weapons will get behind. Deshaun Jackson is probably not playing crazily. Mm-hmm. Who's surprised about that? And Darren Waller is expected to play. So I think with Derek Carr, Darren Waller, Brian Edwards, Oakland will still put up points, but I'm going to take Washington to win a close game, 28-27, which means they cover because of the underdog. But I just don't see how Vegas I don't see how Vegas's personnel can outdo Washington's personnel. I think it's just a mismatch in general, like you said.
Moody, what did you take for the total?
I took the under.
Okay, I'm just filling out the chart.
I took the over.
I'm going Washington football team as well. I may not have been right about the division, but they are in the playoff picture, so I could get their playoff spot correct.
My bold prediction of 2 NFC teams making the playoffs currently is correct. That's all. I was laughed at, everybody.
Yeah, but what was the second
because you picked your team to be in it.
That's why you were laughed.
That's why you were laughed
at. Actually, you laughed at me more than Washington football team.
Somehow they picked it up. I thought it'd be Philly. They all suck. That's the real answer.
2 of them are going to make the playoffs for now.
I will take the Washington football team. That defense is surprisingly turning it around without Chase Young.
Or Sweat.
Yeah,
which is so sad how bad they were with them. September is tough. It's tough to manage September.
And I will take the under of 49.5. Under. So let's keep it going. Let's keep rolling. We will go to Pittsburgh, where Baltimore is coming to town. Baltimore's -4.5, over under 44.
I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm not picking Pittsburgh at home in a big
Good for
division.
you.
But and it's especially hard after that pathetic performance.
How can you pick Pittsburgh though after what you saw from them last
But
week?
hey, you know who is just as pathetic at the quarterback position? Lamar Jackson.
He was the worst. Last week he was the worst person.
Lamar was pathetic in the way he performed last week. I think Pittsburgh's leaky run defense right now, especially with TJ Watt being on the COVID list.
He actually just got activated.
He just got activated.
Oh, literally 5 seconds ago.
All right, well, that's great for Pittsburgh. I still am going to take Baltimore here. I think Baltimore they're outstanding in their run defense. So I don't expect Najee Harris to be able to get off in any way. That'll allow Baltimore's DBs to be able to press up and get on those receivers. Ben's been really, really inaccurate. And even though home Big Ben has historically been a thing, in December, it's going to be too cold for his arm to get warmed up to make any plays down the field. I expect Baltimore's defense to just choke away Pittsburgh's ability to score the ball, and Lamar Jackson will be able to make enough highlight plays on the offensive end for them to get the win. I think Pittsburgh will keep it close, especially now that you're saying they get TJ Watt back, Minka. Their defense is healthy, but offensively, I don't think Pittsburgh has put up enough points, if any. So I'll take Baltimore to cover and the under.
Yeah, so I'm for sure taking Baltimore to cover. That hasn't been my question. It's just this over-under has been stumping me.
What is it at?
44.
That seems pretty easy to me.
I have the over written down here, so I'm going to stick to my gut feeling and take the over. I think at home, Pittsburgh will show some pride, hopefully. So I took Baltimore to start win going away 28-17, but maybe we get a nice close game that's really physical in the beginning, or we get last week where Pittsburgh gets stomped out for 3 quarters and then they tack on some garbage time. That's what they've been doing the last few weeks, actually, if you include the LAC game. They just really just been down big, maybe some garbage time.
Trying to fight back, but most of the time taking a fat L. What you think, Eric?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Baltimore. I think Lamar's going to have a bounce-back game from his pathetic performance last week. Who'd you say was activated again?
TJ Watt. He just got activated off the COVID list.
And I just got a notification LaMelo Ball and Terry Rozier are in COVID protocol.
Yeah. It's hard out here.
But yeah, I'll take Baltimore and the under. I think this is going to be another ugly AFC North game. Yeah, just ugly. Y'all know my beliefs and doubts in Pittsburgh, so
we've been on Pittsburgh for a while. So.
He's like, Pittsburgh only wins this game because of rivalry fight. Like, that's the only reason Pittsburgh can even keep it close to win the game.
And that's not a real tangible.
You ain't predict. I wouldn't bet my money on it. That's all I'm saying about that.
All right, what we got next?
Let's go out to the West Coast, where Jacksonville is traveling cross country to go face the Rams. Rams -13, over under 48.
No one needed this more than the Rams from those 3 ass beatings that they take in the last 3 weeks. A confidence booster game against a bad football team. It's exactly what I think the LA Rams need to get back over the hump. I'm going to take them to cover here, even though the line is ridiculous and Jacksonville's defense has been playing decently.
Like San Francisco.
I mean, the thing is, Jacksonville, the weakness is their run defense, and San Francisco can just do that all the time. LAR's run offense isn't scaring anybody, so you would think that Jacksonville would be able to play to that, but I don't think it matters strictly because their secondary is abysmal. They got a bunch of young rookies and second-year players back there. I expect Cooper Kupp to be running wide open against these guys all day long. I think Odell Beckham Jr. will have a good game. I think Van Jefferson will get involved as well. Higbee. I don't really expect Jacksonville to be able to slow down their passing offense. I don't think they'll be able to. If Josh Allen can get some pass rush on Matthew Stafford like he did against Josh Allen, maybe that will improve their chances, but I don't expect that to be enough. Matthew Stafford gets his MVP bandwagon going back with a big performance here. I'll take LAR to cover and the over.
Yeah, I easily took LAR to cover 35-17, but I'll be watching for that Josh Allen and the pass rush of Jacksonville versus the offensive line of the Rams. Mm-hmm. Because the offensive line hasn't been playing really good, especially in the interior. So I'm going to be looking for twist stunts And then secondarily, I'll just in general, I'll be looking for everything other than the Matthew Stafford to Cooper Kupp connection, because everything for the Rams has been out of whack these last couple weeks. So we're going to be seeing, hopefully, against a bad team that could get some of those kinks ironed out. And I'll still take them to cover. If they lose this game, though, panic time will be here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any way you could take the Jaguars in this one. I think the Rams offense is going to really try to get back on the right foot and lay a whooping on the Jaguars. Take the over, because I think the Rams are going to score at least 35, I think. So, yeah, hit the over, hit the Rams. Don't watch this game either, because it's going to be very one-sided.
Yeah, watch Baltimore versus Pittsburgh instead.
Yeah. So moving on, let's stay on the West Coast, where San Francisco is visiting Seattle. San Francisco -3.5, over under 45.5.
Two teams going in complete opposite directions. San Fran's really gotten hot over the last couple of weeks. They really their offensive line has really found their rhythm, and they're just mauling guys, with George Kittle in the end helping out as well. Their run game has really picked it up. Elijah Mitchell has been one of, if not the biggest fantasy pickups of the year with his production. Brandon Ayuk has finally come back to life, even though George Kittle had a stinker last week. His threat in the offense and him being healthy is good for them. But Deebo Samuel was ruled out with a groin. And if you want to name a star of the San Francisco 49ers team and offense, it has clearly been Deebo Samuel. In both the running game and the passing game, he's been impossible to stop. His ability to take short plays long allows Jimmy Garoppolo to not have to make a bunch of high-level throws. He can just play within the scheme of the offense and ask his guys to make plays. Without Deebo, I think that really, really hurts the San Francisco offense going up against the Seattle defense that has been fine. It's not a great defense, but it has played well over the last few weeks. Russell Wilson, another week removed from the injury. You expect him to be better than he's been over the last couple of weeks. You saw late in the fourth quarter against Washington, he seemed to finally find his ability to put some zip on the ball down the field. And Seattle has a good history against San Francisco. So I'm going to take Seattle to cover here at home. The 3.5, I think they'll keep it close. They've only lost to San Francisco twice since 2013. It's been a good matchup for them. And San Francisco secondary is so bad. If Russell Wilson can find his rhythm, I expect DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett to make a bunch of plays against the secondary that can't cover him. I'm sure the offensive line is going to be a little bit overwhelmed by that San Francisco front seven. But if Russell Wilson is healthy-ish and able to control the ball, he can navigate that. So I'll take Seattle to cover, and I'll take the under.
I totally agree with the exact opposite, with my switch up being that I'll take the over. I just think San Francisco will win this game, but I think they'll only win it by a field goal or some type of way that Seattle lost last week, where they might be up and dominating all game, but in the fourth quarter, Russell Wilson and our offense gets things going. They put some points on the board and maybe just fall short. That's what I say. Seattle to just fall short, and their Schley to keep continuing. And that's what's the biggest headline going to be, this free fall that the Seahawks are taking. And also, Adrian Peterson's back again.
Someone call Todd Gurley, please. He still owed money from LA. They're not paying him. Somebody, it's LAR collusion, bro. They told him, hey, don't pick this dude up. Don't help him. Don't hand him no money, Atlanta. No check.
He went to Atlanta.
He only got $7 million.
Now he's gone. Todd Gurley. That's a name. That's what they're not calling him. But yeah, San Francisco in the over. Seattle to cover in the over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm pushing all my chips to the middle of the table. Brandon Ayuk is going to have an explosive game, I think. Going to be probably the number one wide receiver for the team this week. So I will take San Francisco to cover. I will take the over as well. I think this is the week that Russell shows a little bit of improvement and health. So they'll finally be able to score some points this week. But I just think the run game of the 49ers are going to dominate Seattle. So I'll take the San Francisco 49ers and the over. All right, so let's go to Kansas City, where Denver's coming to town. Kansas City -9.5, over under 47.
Now, you remember when I said you don't want to bet your money on intangible things? Well, the only reason I feel like I'm taking Kansas City here is because of intangible things. Because this is a big line. Denver is playing really good football, and Denver also, as a philosophy, plays the type of defense that Kansas City has struggled with all year. Clyde Edwards-Helaire got added to the Friday injury report with an illness. We don't know how well Kansas City is going to be willing to stick with the run anyway.
What a bad pick.
Well, I told you then, and it looks even worse now. They
I
tried
was
to
so
take
high on him. He's just not that guy.
If Kansas City decides to come out here and play a physical game in December, try to run the football because Denver's run defense is bad, wait for them to come up and try to hit them with big plays over the top, Kansas City will win this game comfortably. But that's not how Kansas City wants to play. And they haven't shown that they're willing to change in that area. Their only offensive explosion in the last 2 months was against the one team that decided to play them straight up. But I think in the primetime slate, I can't trust Teddy Bridgewater to raise his game up to the moment the way I expect Patrick Mahomes to. This is for the division leading the AFC West. This is a huge, huge football game. But Kansas City, with the veteran experience, the Super Bowl experience, I think gets the job done and wins comfortably at home and the under.
I just can't trust Kansas City like
It's
that.
hard. It's hard, man. I
can't.
understand. Trust is a strong word.
I expect them to win this game. I don't expect them to win by 10 points. They just don't beat people like that for the most part, with the exception of their divisional opponents, like they did to Oakland, and they did beat the Washington football team and Philadelphia Eagles like that. But I just can't. I expect them to win. I expect a big game, but I think Denver has enough in his secondary to win enough matchups to keep them in the game. Their offense might not be firing on all cylinders, but let's be real. Kansas City's defense isn't going to be out there shutting them down for the most part, even as good as they've played the last few weeks. They're still not a elite defense. Maybe they'll prove me wrong, but I'll take Kansas City 28-21. They'll still win, still somehow take the lead of the AFC West, having one of the most
everybody loses 3 out of 4, bro. Every good team this year has had that. This is a rough stretch right here.
Luckily for them, they lost it early.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll take Kansas City and the over. I'll take Denver to cover and the over.
Moody, what was your total again?
Under.
I'm going to go Denver. I don't like betting Kansas City when they're more than a touchdown favorite. It's just dangerous. They have
the most.
Yeah, and I've done it the most.
You've probably done it the most.
Yeah. I started picking against Kansas City a while ago,
but I just think it's rough. I think Denver's defense can do enough to stay within the number. I think Kansas City wins, but with single digits. And I'll take the over of 47. All right, so let's go to the Monday night game. Finally, we have a really good one here for Monday night. New England at Buffalo. Buffalo minus 2.5, over under 41.5.
And we're supposed to get some rain in Buffalo this week. And in Buffalo in December, rain can easily turn to sleet, can turn to hail, can turn to snow. I expect the weather to not be at its most pristine conditions. This is massive for the AFC in general, because if New England wins this one, the AFC might be running through New England, and that's a problem. That is a problem for the rest of the AFC. Buffalo, their heads are turning right now. They just lost Trey White for the year last Thursday in a game that they were in complete control of. You just hate to see that. Their offense has looked like it's finally started to pick back up a little bit, especially against a good defense like that. But their run offense has still left a lot to be desired. And Bill Belichick's going to have a great game plan, man. He's doubling up Stephon Diggs. He's going to take Emmanuel Sanders or Cole Beasley. He's definitely going to be bracketing Cole Beasley on those third downs, on those underneath throws. This is going to be Josh Allen's biggest test of the year, in my opinion, to show, and Buffalo's in general, to show how much they've really grown and have they really taken over the division, or they just catch New England in their transition year. I expect Buffalo to get the job done here just because it's only 2.5. I think Josh Allen with his legs will be the difference here, because New England's going to play a lot of man coverage, and I expect Josh Allen to be able to make enough big plays with his legs to get them over the top. But it'll be close. The Trey White injury creates some doubt in terms of their pass defense, but I think they still have enough overall talent and a good enough defensive scheme from Leslie Frazier to be able to slow down New England's pass offense, and they'll be able to slow down the run game from New England as well. I'll take Buffalo to cover and the under.
Yeah, I think this might be the most technically sound chess match of the week. defensive wise, I think these are the top 2 defenses in the league probably.
Yep.
We know Buffalo is. I expect Mac Jones to struggle with that defensive secondary because that's a really good secondary that's playing at a high level. Unfortunately, Trey White is out, so we'll see how they replace that because that's a Super Bowl crippling injury. It just says you're CB1, who's probably a top 5 cornerback. But I believe that in the end, like Woody said, it'll come down to Josh Allen versus Mac Jones, and I just got to take Josh Allen. I know it's hard for me to do that because Bill Belichick is so much better than Sean McDermott, in my opinion. But I'm going to go with Josh Allen to make the necessary extra plays to get him over the hump. I think it'll still be close, 24-21 Buffalo, in what will be one of the most tight and most you're going to feel the intensity.
This is playoff intensity.
You're going to feel the intensity for this game for sure.
Yeah, I guess I'm the only one rolling with New England. Bill Belichick is packing up the weather machine and taking it to Buffalo. I just think they're hot right now. Like, they're the team to beat in the NFL right now. Mac Jones is playing an efficient, effective game right now. And Bill Belichick, he's going to have something ready for those Buffalo weapons and an answer for Josh Allen. I really like New England in this situation. I wish it was +3, but, I think New England can win this game outright, honestly.
All right. Bold predictions?
I'll go ahead and start. I think Joe Mixon has his first career 200-yard rushing day against their league worst run defense in the Los Angeles Chargers. 3 touchdowns.
I'll go somewhere along the lines. I think Jonathan Taylor also gets 200 yards rushing in a day and at least 3 touchdowns.
Well, I think Brandon Ayuk is going to have an explosive day for the 49ers. I think north of 7 catches, north of, I want to say 100, but I'm going to go over 80 and a touchdown.
Okay. All right, y'all. Enjoy the football. Catch y'all later.